You know, the show is titled Raising Kanan, but if I'm being quite honest, I think and I'm putting Famous to the side, because Famous is an idiot. But just about everyone else, I think, is a bit more interesting than Kanan at this point. The show for me, like, I call it Rolling with RAQ, because that's my girl. That was the character that really sparked my interest in the show. And then, in the first season, I liked Lou. Marvin was, like, funny in the first season, and I liked his growth as a character throughout the second season. He's actually really grown on me. Jukebox has been solid from the first season. I felt like she's the most sympathetic character, right? And it's in part because of, like, that girl has just gone through stuff. I think part of it with Kanan, to some degree, I think RAQ obviously loves and cares for him, but I think in some ways she kind of spoiled him a little bit, was inconsistent with discipline versus keeping him away from the business and things like that. And so with that, he ended up growing up to believe that he was entitled to a spot in their organization. Meanwhile, there's seemingly been no real plan for Jukebox. Jukebox is kind of like an afterthought. If you think back to the first season, there's all of this effort and energy put into keeping Kanan safe. If you even think back to the first episode when Kanan got into the fight at the park, he runs home and RAQ's first question is, where was Jukebox when this was going on, right? Jukebox is like a year older than Kanan. She's a girl, but there's an expectation for her to help to defend Kanan. You look at it throughout the first season where, despite Kanan being a moron, because he's like intelligent but lacks life experience, he ends up creating all of these problems that RAQ and the rest of them have to help to clean up, where so much of the first season is about trying to protect Kanan from himself. There's all of this effort into keeping him safe, where it culminates at the end of the first season with him being sent to Virginia. Meanwhile, is bullets flying, Unique and RAQ are at war, and here's Jukebox just walking around South Jamaica, Queens, dead of night by herself, dolo. No one's worried or concerned about where Jukebox is. No one's packing Jukebox up in the car with Symphony to send her down to Virginia as well. And it's something that you see where it's like, even where RAQ sees herself as being like the boss, she makes the decisions, she figures things out and gives everybody their marching orders. You see that RAQ even talks to Jukebox, right? She listens to Jukebox, yes, as she listened to Jukebox when Jukebox was going through the stuff with her mom, but that's probably like the one reciprocal relationship that RAQ has, where generally speaking, RAQ gives orders to people, or she does things and doesn't really explain herself or communicate her thought process. But you see that with Jukebox, there's give and take. She listens to Jukebox and talks to Jukebox, yes, but Jukebox is kind of like really the only person in the family that she also shares what's going on with her, right? Like, Jukebox was really, Kanan found out about Symphony because he just bumped into him in the house, but Jukebox was the first person that RAQ told about Symphony, right? When RAQ and Kanan started having their drama in the second season, Jukebox was the one that RAQ kind of confided in, like, you know, that she knows that she's messing up, but sort of like her rationale and her thought process. But it's like, in so many ways, Jukebox has been failed by so many people in just life in general. Like, that the whole trauma of her relationship with Nicole during the first season, you know, and the trauma of her relationship with her dad and her mom not being there. And then it's like, in the second season, her having to go and seek out her mom, finding out that her mom has been living not that far away for how long and has made no effort to reconnect with her. She reconnects with her only to be abused and rejected by her mom's church people, and then just to have her mom die. And now here we have it where Jukebox is nearing the end of her time in high school. You had it where in the first season, RAQ was trying to push Kanan to attend Stuyvesant with the plan that eventually he would go on to college and go on to live a life far removed from this life that they're living. And you find out that Jukebox could have had the same opportunity, but Marvin, in his limited way of thinking, didn't push for Jukebox to go to Stuyvesant like RAQ did for Kanan. And so Jukebox likely could have gotten into Stuyvesant, and so now she's nearing the end of high school. There's no real plan for her future. You know, no one's pushing her towards college. You look at it in the first episode where she went to this travesty of a guidance counselor with her, you know, Burger King White Castle job postings. The lady didn't even know Jukebox's name, had to look at the paper. She doesn't have like any, not even like careers or let's say trades, because college isn't for everyone. It's like minimum wage jobs that Jukebox could have been working while she was in high school. There's no encouragement for her to go to college. She doesn't, you know, sit down and talk to her about potential career paths or trades that she might like to learn or just some path forward. The options that she offers are minimum wage jobs or the military. And it's like you see here that Jukebox, she's like formed a quasi friendship with Burke, only for Burke to officially commit suicide, but really to have been murdered by Howard. So it's like another person that she's lost, right? We see her outside the funeral watching the goings-ons and like watching Howard, two-faced guy, right? And it's like all of this trauma, it's like no one's there pushing for Jukebox. And it's like in 1,000,001 ways, my heart breaks for her. Because you think about it, like that's this one character. We see what she became in the original Power. And it gives like such an explanation as to how she became that later character. Because you look at the childhood that she had. You look at the adolescent and formative years that she had. The just trauma on top of trauma and negative experiences on top of negative experiences. You know, to the point where it's like Jukebox loves to sing. You have it where her uncle, well, initially her dad, Marvin, was completely unsupportive of it in the first episode. But then it's like, you know, he was proud when she performed at the showcase. Her uncle Lou gets into the music industry. He has access to a studio. He has a record label, or he's a partner in a record label. He takes a song and gives it to this singer girl, Misa or Kisa, whatever her name is. He's pushing like other artists. He helps out with Famous. He helps out with this Misa girl, whatever her name is. He does nothing for Jukebox, right? Aside from kind of maneuvering things for her to appear on Famous's song in the first season. And it's like you get to this garbage guidance counselor lady and she like downplays Jukebox's talent and her passion for music. Where it's like just the absolute like just dream crushing lack of support. Where it's like, okay, you know, fine, you want to do music, like let's see where you can go with that. Or in the meantime, like do music, but let's also look at you going to college and studying music. There are conservatories. You can go study music or study business or something like that and also pursue music. But it's like, she's just been filled by so many people and in so many ways. And it's like, it's sad because you think about it, like, put aside the stuff with RAQ and them and their drug dealing or whatever, right? That's not most people's lives. But you think about it like, a character like Jukebox could really exist, right? People like Jukebox do exist. Where it's like, in their formative years, they just don't get the support that they need. They go through things in life, as we all do, but it's like, they just don't have that support that they need to get started on the right track. And it's like just taking constant losses and these limited expectations, these limited possibilities that people place on you. It's sad. And to then see Nicole's dad, Mr. Bingham, show up, which is actually really sweet, that he's a veritable stranger, but based on the relationship that Jukebox had with Nicole, that he comes all the way out to Queens, goes to her house, or comes to her house to speak to her, meets her dad, Marvin, chats him up, because he's there to encourage Jukebox with her music career. He's learned about this opportunity that he thinks she could be a real contender for. And it's like, and to then hear her say that, that she's not singing anymore. It's like, oh, like my heart just broke. Like Jukebox, my goodness. Ugh. That's some good writing, man. Like, RAQ is my favorite character, though I kind of question some of the things they've done with the character throughout the second season. It remains to be seen how she kind of shakes out in the third. But, like, consistently, Jukebox has been, like, one of my favorite characters. And I think it has to do with, like, the complexity that's written into the character. Jukebox is one to watch, man.